Okay. I'm gonna be honest. I am so pooped right now. It's been a busy day. Welcome and/or welcome back to the channel. My name is Sarah. I like to talk about books down here in my basement, and we're here for another chatty Friday. Maybe weekend reads. It depends on when I can get this edited and uploaded. Just like last week, we shall see. So, quickly, let's jump into it. The only book that I don't have a physical copy of in front of me is Hell's Heart by Alexis Hall. Now, I'm pretty sure I mentioned this last week, and I wasn't enjoying it. And I'll be honest, I didn't enjoy it. It didn't improve, and it didn't work for me. Let me move my mic just a little. It didn't work. It didn't work for me at all. This one, to cover the synopsis again, is pitched as lesbian Moby Dick in space, which sounds totally up my street. I like a weird space novel. I like weird novels, period. If you make it queer, it's even more fun. You know, I loved it. And I loved Moby Dick. The original is a classic I really enjoy. I know that's a controversial opinion, but I really like Moby Dick. So I went in with high expectations because while I have not in the recent history enjoyed Alexis Hall, I have in the past given him 5 stars. So all in all, I was excited. It didn't pan out, and I think what it boiled down to for me was that instead of taking this and giving it the Alexis Hall treatment, instead we got a rewriting of Moby Dick. He attempted to match pace and structure to Moby Dick as much as he could without making it as verbose and meaty as Moby Dick, at the same time as adding in those extra elements of making it science fiction, making it queer, rewriting the characters. And so it just, the juxtaposition of it all just did not work for me. I also was not crazy about some of the characters, how they were written and presented. I just wasn't wild. The main character was, our point of view character was flighty. She was, I don't know. It didn't work. Unfortunately. The space attributes, the weird creatures in like the Jupiters, I don't remember if it was in Jupiter's rings or Jupiter itself, because it's a gas giant. All of that was great. I think he had a fantastic idea, right? The root of this was a great idea. Inspiration from Moby Dick, but make it whales in space, and instead of a bunch of old dudes, let's make it queer and fun. That's a great idea. I think he could have pulled that off marvelously if we had not tried to make it so close to Moby Dick. That was where it fell flat for me, and it fell flat really hard. So this didn't work. I didn't like it. I think I gave it 2 stars. So I can't recommend it. And if you're like me and you like Alexis Hall and this idea, but you also really liked the original novel, just skip this, I think, because I don't know if this juxtaposition is going to work for anybody who's familiar with the original work and his work. I don't know. Maybe it will. Maybe it was me. I didn't like it, sadly. So that's okay. Everything else I finished was in physical form, or I have a physical form of it. So really quickly, we'll talk about the 2 manga real quick that I read. I finally got to the 2nd volume of Ghost and Witch by Korei Yamazaki, which is the 2nd in her newest series, which does take place in the Magus Bride universe, but it is set on Ireland, and it is about a young girl who shows up at this B&B because I believe her original reason for, I read it when it came out a few months ago, her original reason for being there was there's a wishing well, and she's being haunted by the spirit of this serpent, and she wants to shake it. She wants to get rid of it. It's ruined her life. It's physically changing her in ways she does not care for nor want, and when she gets there, she meets a witch and the witch's bonded companion. And so we go off. We have some encounters with some fae, the fair folk, with some other creatures, and it continues on in this, and now we're starting to see the church get involved. So the church in Korei Yamazaki's world is often involved in the other beings like the fair folk and those, and the ancient beings, and they are starting to show up here as well. This, because it's set in the same world, we get a lot of the same like factions and groups, which is really cool. So if you're familiar with Ancient Magus Bride, you can pick this up and dive right in. It has got her beautiful style, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm wondering where it's going. It's playing most definitely with the myth of, was it Peter? I don't remember. The saint that got all the snakes out of Ireland. I know I'm coming across terrible. I cannot remember the name of it for the life of me. But the whole, he led the snakes to the sea. It's playing with that. She is the snake that has returned. So it's interesting so far. I really like it. I'm excited to see where it goes. We've now had like this prophecy stated. So there's this meta plot line that's been established of like 7 guests at the B&B need their wishes granted for some reason. We'll see what happens. Speaking of 7, I guess, I got to volume 7 of Mob Psycho 100. Now, the end of 6, we kind of hung off on this little, like, almost like a cliffhanger of him with a girl, but it kind of dropped that pretty quickly. And now we're seeing Mob and, what is his name? Reagan? His, like, kind of con man employer. They're taking up jobs again. And it's... These are like little stints, and it's kind of ridiculous how on one hand he and his boss are doing good things, like there is some honor in what they're doing and how they're acting, but on the other hand they're also really there's some connery going on, especially on his employer's Regan. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. Regan on his side, because he's like, I'm a medium, but he's not. But then I wonder, does he actually believe he's a medium? Because he's clearly not. Mob does all the psychic stuff. I don't know. Whatever, it's fun. And so we are seeing them take up jobs. The last little bit I really liked, it was about the urban legends, the idea of urban legends, and if you give them power, they become more powerful, more real, and Mob has to basically dispel these urban legends. And we see him grapple with this idea of, they get to a haunted house and there's ghosts there, but the ghosts aren't doing anything but attempting to live some semblance of a life. It's a family. And these college kids are like, oh, we're scared of the ghosts. Get rid of them. And Mob is like, I don't think I want to. And he kind of has to start to reckon with the idea that maybe these spirits have just as much autonomy as humans do. And that was interesting. I liked that. So I will continue Mob Psycho. So far, I am still enjoying it a lot. And I have 3 novels that I finally finished. So I did, in fact, finish Agnes Aubert's Mystical Cat Shelter by Heather Fawcett. I have been reading this one for an embarrassingly long time. Almost since it came out. In March? April? I don't know. It's been a while. I just keep picking it up and putting it down. I think gave this a 4-star. I did really like it. I did. I just wish that I had sat down and given it concentrated effort. I have not had a lot of time to just sit down with concentrated effort on a physical book because I have a very active sensory seeking like 6-year-old. She is bouncing around, moving around, constantly talking and chattering. So for me, it's much easier to read on an ebook in snips and pieces here and there. And then when she goes to bed, I just read while my husband plays games or whatever. And I've just not had the attention or the capability to pick this up and read it in a like single chunks like I like to do. Single chunks? Separate chunks. So I did it a disservice. I think it would have been a 5-star had I done that, and I really liked it. So it's about Agnes Aubert, who is running a cat shelter in, I believe it's in Canada. I don't think it says on the back, but I think she's based in Canada, in this like historical version of Canada, and she runs up. So these sorcerers have this battle out on the street. Sorcerers are kind of like vagabond, like almost like mobsters, and they ruin her shelter, and she's trying to find another place to move her cat shelter to, which of course it's going to be difficult. Nobody really wants a cat shelter to rent space to. She ends up stumbling upon a place, And it's shockingly cheap, it's shockingly big, but she's desperate, so she takes it. And of course, it ends up that there is a, like, he's called, I think, the Witch King or something like that. He's like the scariest of sorcerers. He supposedly attempted to bring about the apocalypse so many years ago and all this stuff, and it turns out he's not everything that he seems or he's said to be. And it was lovely. It gives intense Howl's Moving Castle vibes. So if you enjoyed Howl's Moving Castle, and if you enjoyed Emily Wilde, those two things, it feels very much like that, but with cats in the city. And if that sounds good to you, you're gonna love this. It's very much those things summed up. Because I took so long to read it, by the time we got to the climax, I was actually lost because I was like, wait, because there's a couple of specific items that are of importance to the plot that I didn't expect. I didn't remember, basically. I didn't remember what they did, and when she used them, I was like, what? That was a good example of why it took too long for me to read this. But otherwise, yes, I liked it. I'm wondering if the audiobook would have been a good route to go. So if anybody's listened to the audiobook, let me know. I'm keeping that copy, so it is going to be up for a reread eventually one day. Just, I don't know if I'll do it physically or audio. Something I did read on audio, though, was The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. Really liked this. Cozy fantasy. I'm a little behind on this. It came out a few years ago. I have this and the second one. I'm reading the second one on ebook instead of audiobook, I think, because it'll just go a little faster for me. But this one is about, what was her name? I listened to this. Keela and Kaz. Keela is a librarian in the great city, and at the beginning of the novel, we find out that there is a rebellion happening there. They've thrown the emperor out of his castle window, and now they're like razing the streets and setting fire to things, and the great library gets set fire to. They set fire to the great library. There we go. And she and Kaz must flee, and they only flee with about 5 crates worth of books, I think. 5 or 6. And they flee to her tiny home island where her family is from, that's on the outer rim of islands. And when they get there, they find out that because of the way the Empire was hoarding magic for the powerful and the elite, it has thrown like the whole world in balance. So these islands, this is like an island nation sort of thing, they're all struggling. Magic being done in the capital is throwing out the balance of the natural life and magic in the outer islands. So they're like, plants are struggling, their fruit trees aren't growing, the fish aren't coming in properly, the mer horses are struggling. Like the whole world's out of balance. And Keela, having these books, which turn out to be a bunch of spell books, decides maybe I can help and try to survive and all this at the same time. And Kaz, might I add, is a talking spider plant. And I will also like to say, I looked up fan art for this book, and everybody keeps drawing Kaz in a pot. He's never in a pot. If he was in a pot, it was for like maybe a couple of pages. He's constantly carrying his soil ball around, so he's just bouncing around with dirt underneath him. In fact, I saw one person that even made a TikTok with a picture of him with just his soil ball, and he was like, I thought he looked like this, but instead he looked like this, and it showed him in a pot. He's never in a pot. Ever. He's never in a pot. I don't understand. I wonder if because maybe some of the special editions had artwork of him in a pot, but in the text itself, he is not in a pot. He is like picking himself up and carrying himself with his tendrils, with his fronds, and it's talking about him holding his root ball and his soil ball underneath him. It bothered me. It bothered me. But besides that, really liked this. There's a romance in here, there's magic, and there's little feathered cat creatures, and there is another sentient plant that shows up, and just, there was a lot of beautiful magical things in this, and I enjoyed it, and I am diving into the Enchanted Greenhouse, hopefully this weekend. We'll see. I listened to the first chapter or so I found out it's about Kaz's creator somehow. I'm very excited to read that, because I really do want to find out how she's going to end up knitted into this. I have an idea, but I'm excited. And the last thing that I have to talk about is Sword and Thistle by S.L. Rowland. I finished Cursed Cocktails a few weeks ago, and I did also just finish this. This is the second book in that series, which is Tales of Adrea? Yeah. And this is a cozy, so about this it says, about the series, welcome to the enchanting world of Tales of Adrea, where small-scale stories, low-stakes adventures, and cozy fantasy come to life within an epic high fantasy realm. So that kind of sums it up. The first book was about a blood mage who moves to the coast and starts like this tavern, this alehouse. This is about, is it Dobbin? Yes, Dobbin hits this big guy right here who is an adventurer who is set out on this adventure to find this rare mushroom. But to do that, he has to go to this this city was destroyed by a great dragon. It's haunted. It's kind of a terrible place to go. And along the way, he makes friends, he meets people, and, small adventure follows. It's lovely. There is animal companions. So we have Snort here, and then our dwarven lady back here that we meet, she has a kobold companion here. Now, anything that has a kobold, especially a good kobold, is going to win me points. My D&D character, my NPC that I run for my long-term campaign that we've been running for I've been running for 12 years at this point. She's a kobold. So I have a very soft spot for the little draconic creatures in my heart. So I really liked this. It's a little indie fantasy. If you like cozy fantasy, if you want something like a low stakes adventure, which is what this is, probably the perfect way to describe this, I highly recommend. And like last time, I will throw it out. If you like Dungeon Crawler Carl and you are further in the series, there is the author Seth Rowland. He is a character in the books. He is a stripper. That is this author here. S.L. Rowland is Seth Rowland. So a little tie-in for those fans. They are good friends in real life, evidently. So that is everything that I have read. I am currently reading, I started on audio The Fox and the Devil by Kirsten White, and this is a vampire story following the daughter of Dr. Van Helsing. Now, let me double check myself. Hold on. Is Kirsten White not the person that wrote... She's written several Dracula stories, right? Am I thinking of the right author with a K? Let's see. Nope. Okay, yes. So last year I read Lucy Undying, which is a Dracula story, or like a retelling told from Lucy and her descendants' point, or sort of her descendants' point of view. And I actively disliked that book. And then she also wrote is it the Now I Rise? Aren't those Dracula stories too? She really likes the Dracula myth. Yes, the And I Darken. That I know that's like a retelling. She really likes the Dracula myth, and she's playing with it here again. From what I've gathered so far, we're following the daughter of Dr. Van Helsing. She is looking for this mysterious woman in white whom she saw standing over her father as he died. However, everyone thinks her father killed himself because of the nature of his wounds, but she knows better. And she starts seeing these crime scenes that show similar signs. They show some strange signs, and then she sees photographs of this woman again at one of these crime scenes. So it's all starting to knit together. So I have given Kirsten White 5 stars because The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein was fantastic. And I think I gave Lucy Undying 1 star. So we're back in the thick of it with Alexis Hall, where it's an author I both have loved and hated their work. So we'll see how this one goes. So far, I do like it, though. I have, on eARC, what else am I reading? I'm reading The Madness Pill by Justin something. This is a really fascinating book about schizophrenia. In my family, we have had some people impacted by schizophrenia, so this is very interesting to read about. I don't know much about it, so I'm learning a lot with this. And this is kind of about a doctor's search to find a pill or a cure or a way to treat schizophrenia. So we're kind of looking at where people thought it came from, where we find out it comes from, things like that. So I'm liking it so far. It's very short. I should have it finished quickly. I plan on diving into the Enchanting Greenhouse, and unfortunately I have quite a few physical things. I need to read more of Sword Art Online because I'm still reading that with a bestie, and he's actually a little farther ahead of me, I think. I need to finish... I started a book of Japanese ghost stories, Kwandon, I'm not sure how to say it. This list is way too long. It's actually upsetting. I need to sit down and read some of these. I'm still reading Louise Erdrich's, is that how you say her name? Python's Kiss. That's upstairs as well. And I think I just got a Don May in, and I cannot remember the title exactly, so I'll put a picture here, that I really want to read. So, like, we'll see. And I know tomorrow is going to be a day I don't get a lot of reading done. My husband has a tournament, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournament, and I'm going to be both trying to watch him and watch our daughter. I'm not going to get anything done. That tournament's probably going to be all day. So we'll see what happens. It may be one of those nights where I come home and just crash, or I come home and I just read for hours. But let me know what y'all are reading, what you plan on reading, and what your weekend plans are, all that good stuff. Thanks so much for watching, y'all. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. And I'll talk to you again next week. Again. I'll talk to you next week. Bye, y'all.